He's blind, he's deaf, he's nearly 18 years old, and he was left at the gates of a sanctuary with nothing. No note, no name, no explanation. Just him. I want you to sit with that for a second. 18 years of a life, and whoever left him couldn't even leave a piece of paper. When we first saw him, he wasn't frightened, just unsure, quietly trying to make sense of a world he couldn't see or hear, in a place he didn't recognize, with no idea what came next. My daughter and I were volunteering at the Barbie Keel Animal Sanctuary in Sussex at the time. He'd already been there about 5 months. We weren't looking for a cat. We hadn't even discussed it. It simply wasn't part of the plan. But you know how some things find you anyway. Over time, we got to know him, and eventually, we brought him home. What struck me almost immediately, and I mean within the first few days, was how capable he was, despite everything. He had built an entire mental map of the house. He knew where the furniture was, where his food was, where the warm spots were. He moved slowly, yes, but with real purpose. Like he had already done the quiet, invisible work of figuring things out on his own. In the mornings, when he was a little less sure of himself, he'd do this small double tap with his paws as he walked, gently testing the floor ahead before committing to the next step. Something he taught himself, something nobody showed him, just a tiny, ingenious solution to a problem most of us will never face. We made a few adjustments around the house, a stair gate here, a fire guard there, small things, really. And then there's the fire. The moment we turn it on, he finds it. He sits facing it, perfectly still, looking for all the world like he's watching the flames. I asked the vet about it. He shone a light directly into his eyes, and there was zero reaction, no sight at all. So it's just the warmth, just the comfort of it. And honestly, watching him sit there, completely at peace, is one of the most calming things I've ever seen. Here's something that quietly amazed me. He associates people with feelings rather than faces. When my daughter picks him up, he assumes it's feeding time. When I pick him up, he relaxes into it, like his body just knows it's time for a cuddle. He can't see us, he can't hear us, and yet he knows us. He remembers us in whatever way matters most. He has quite a bit of arthritis, we think, given his age, but he never complains. He's never lashed out, never scratched, never shown a single moment of aggression, not once. And if you've spent any time around cats, you know that's remarkable. Even the most loving ones have a threshold. He doesn't seem to have one. He's just gentle, all the way through. Now here's the part I really want you to hear. Before him, I probably would have walked past an animal like him at a shelter, not out of cruelty, just uncertainty, not knowing if I'd do it right, wondering if I'd be enough, worrying that it would be harder, that the bond would be more complicated, that he'd take more than he could give. Every single one of those assumptions was wrong. He's asked almost nothing of us. No grand gestures, no perfect conditions, just consistency, familiar hands, a space that feels safe and warm. That's the entire list. And in return, he's quietly changed the rhythm of our home in ways I'm still noticing. The way he relaxes the moment he recognizes who's holding him. The way he finds his spot by the fire every single evening without fail. The trust he extends day after day to a world he cannot see or hear, and somehow still chooses to lean into. Those moments add up. They change you. So if you ever find yourself at a shelter, walking past the older ones, the ones with the medical notes on their kennel doors, the ones that don't quite fit the picture you had in your head, pause, just for a moment. Ask a question or two. Because the animals that seem like the hardest choice are sometimes the ones that fit most naturally into your life. They don't need saving in the dramatic sense. They just need someone willing to meet them exactly where they are. And when you do, quietly, without any fuss, they'll change you too. Our team puts in a great deal of effort behind the scenes to discover and share real-life stories that genuinely matter. Every video is thoughtfully created, carefully researched, edited using reliable sources, and handled with the respect each story deserves. What you see isn't just designed to inspire. It's created to be authentic, impactful, and meaningful.